Yo, yo, what's good, family? Let me know y'all can hear me real well on here. I don't want to be talking and y'all can't hear me. So let me know what's good with y'all out there. I know it's a little bit of delay on the mic, so I'm going to give y'all a moment to answer me. Because we got some stuff to talk. So let me know what's good with y'all out there. And just so y'all know, while I'm while I'm on here, rapping with y'all, just so you know, I was a part of the cleanup efforts in Philadelphia. I did show up to a couple of the protests, mainly a one out here in Westchester, PA. So not much for being your revolutionary behind a computer. I'm kind of like George. We like to go out on the street a lot. So okay, cool. So y'all can hear. That's what's up. All right. So with that information being said, I want to bring us up to date, bring what I know to your attention. Some of the stuff you're probably going to know. I'm just giving you my take on it. So this will bring you pretty much up to speed on what's going on between, at least as far as being local to my area. You're going to get ideas of what was happening on the ground in Philly and what was happening on the ground in Westchester, which is kind of a little ways outside of Philly. Okay, so I'm bringing this information to you guys. George is going to do a separate thing where you guys are going to see like firsthand on the street video clips. So that's going to be huge. So you guys are going to want to keep an eye out for that coming real soon, where you'll get to actually see like live George Macon being there with certain things going on and the aftermath of certain things. I'm just bringing you a little bit of my take on what's going on, but you'll be able to see a lot more with what George got going on. So with that being said, I want to make sure you guys are familiar with this book, but I'm pulling it up because there's many people who did not read it. I need more people to be, knowledgeable of this book, because it seems like I'm still running into a lot of people who are not. This has been going on for eons. People understanding the art of war. This is what the book looks like that I have. As you can see on the pictures, there's a bunch of different types of it, but this is the book that I specifically have, one of the original ones, with some of the Chinese characters on it, because I study Japanese, but that allows me to understand a little bit of Chinese. So, but regardless of that, this book explains the mentality of a person doing war, and the height of the information in the book is deception. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, deception gets tagged onto by secrecy. When someone has secrecy and deception at their disposal and they have the power behind it, they can create what we call the matrix, or the reality for the people in front of us. So I'm just showing that book because it's important to the times we live in. It's been important to the things that have happened prior to the times we live in. So I want you guys to make sure you let people know that this is a book they should definitely know about, to understand the mentality of people who have power. We were born into a society, us anyway, the past is a different story. That's where things were coming together, where people make plans and try and hash them out and do all those things. But we're born into it, like long after. Technology, the ability to communicate, agriculture, all those things are far more advanced than what it was for the people who came before. So our fight is different. They carried their fight as best as they could. We're carrying our fight as best as we can. And in my generation anyway, being an 80s baby, there was like a gap in the generation with the whole drug movement and everything, which created the groundwork for what I'm showing here. So now, why play the things that I played in the beginning? Those of you who are paying attention, you know that Cyrus in the movie The Warriors at the very beginning was speaking to a large crowd of gangsters. So there is no what about black or black crime in that specific scenario. What was being talked about, this is kind of like what you saw was like akin to like Crips and Bloods kind of thing. There was a leader of everybody, and then there was a dividing that happened from, through American conspiracy, operatives and agents and things like that, to divide the group of people from red to blue. And hence you get the war between them. But this is a case where a guy was able to bring a bunch of different groups together just so he can talk and show them what kind of power they had when they stand together in numbers. So I'm pretty sure you probably got that when I was showing it to you, but that was my purpose of introing off with that specific video with Cyrus talking to the crowd. He said we have 9 delegates from over 100 gangs, thousands more. He was counting up the amount of police in the borough versus the amount of people and how the people outnumber the police. But don't get it twisted. Having that amount of power and numbers doesn't mean you have the greatest technology to fight. So large numbers on an old school Civil War battle, if you had 10,000 troops and no cannons, but the other side had cannons, it was easy to wipe the numbers down real fast. So when you get into these kinds of grouping up and doing things, you got to be smart. Your end game is supposed to be peace at all costs. So when things go destructive, it's usually because somebody is not being heard. Now, why play the Kanye West and Jay-Z clip after that? Now, first and foremost, when I'm done doing this live stream, I'm glad you guys were here to actually see it, because that's going to get cut, because obviously copywritten music can't be on the official video. So that's going to get cut out, and it's going to start from where I start talking. So just be aware of that. I put the lyrics on the screen for those who don't catch it or didn't understand it. But when you hear them make claims in the track and the chorus, things like, your love is my scripture. You let me in through your encryption. Remember, the song is called No Church in the Wild. So there has to be another way for people to understand love, because love is what brings people together, even in gangs. There was a person who showed me love, took care of me, showed me, helped me understand the ropes when I was born, no matter who it is. Doesn't matter whether we agree with it or not. We got to understand that children, when they grow up, children are looking at the world in terms of how do I survive in it. So they're constantly watching everything around them. That's why when babies don't really know how to speak, they make noises and they stare at you very intently. They're studying more than just what you say. They're looking at your facial expression, your body language, and when they see smiles or cries or sadness, it determines whether they feel if something is good for them or not. So it might be a kid out there doing something bad in front of their face, but if they see a lot of smiling, that child is going to start to be indoctrinated to believe that that is a good thing for them to actually do. And if they're getting things like rubs on the head, pats on the back, and it's making people around them smile, it amplifies that. So it shows you how community, not just parents, you could say it starts in the home, but if the community ain't yours, it starts in the home, on the streets outside the home, and other parents' houses, inside the schools they go to, all the way up until that brain of theirs receives enough recording from the environment to say, okay, I get it, how to maneuver within this thing. Okay. So with that being said, let's get back to our PowerPoint slides. And let me show you some things that was put together starting from the very top. All right. So from the very top, we already know that Minnesota officer Derek Chauvin was kneeling on George Floyd's neck for about 8 minutes long. A lot of questionable stuff. There's even some heavy conspiracy theories coming out saying that it was a whole acting job, which I understand. There's always multiple ways to look at a thing. I always tell people understanding is not agreement, but I leave room for a lot of different things because we live in a world of deception and secrecy and war tactics. So I don't put anything past me, although I may be more biased towards a certain explanation, which is it's a real situation and the response to the situation is kind of being controlled. That's how I look at it. Now, there's another clip that I wanted to show you guys from Swordfish. But if you haven't, since I'm not playing it, I might play it later on. I want you guys to go look it up. But in the beginning of the movie Swordfish with John Travolta, he was talking about what his organization does. And in his organization, his hey, what's going on, y'all? Let me say shout out to some peoples. Yeah, what's up, Simply Neek, TD Burns, King Scorpio, BX Press, George, I know you up in the building. Dizali, TD Burns, Brother Moses. I guess it's either J Life or Jalif, depends, because I got a friend who goes by that too. But yeah, what's going on, y'all? Peace to the chat. So I was talking about John Travolta in the movie Swordfish. He was talking about what he does is when things happen, he amplifies the situation so that it would be unthinkable to perform certain tasks in the world. So he says things like, if someone bombs a church, we bomb a town. If they bomb, I think they said I can't remember, if they bomb like a corporate building, they take out an airport. So their job is to amplify a strong response to the point where the people who did it say, man, I didn't expect all this to happen. We can't do it this way anymore. That was the point he was trying to draw. That's a war tactic. And I'm going to show you later on that this situation has the makings of those kinds of things going on. Okay, so we see here that the officer was originally charged with third-degree murder or manslaughter, right? And the officers who stood around, and one of them actually protected the scene, just allowed him to sit there with his knee on the man's neck and, allow him to die. And then it was like all this stuff that you need to pay attention to that's kind of weird, like going on in the background. But you can look that up. I'm not really into this specifically for the full-on conspiracy part yet. Just know that 4 officers involved. Chauvin, Derek Chauvin is the one who leaned on the neck. So he's the target because he's the one performing the actual, murder, as we say, right? Guilty, innocent until proven guilty, but we have video. All right. So let's move on. So third degree was how it started off. So once we saw third degree murder, this was pretty much the last straw, right? It was people getting sick of it. Like, there's so many people been dying over the years. A lot of people think, all of this riding for one man. Yeah, but all of this riding is not just for one man. It's for actually multiple people. If you guys looked at the photo that I put up for the title of the video, like when you look at the actual video card, the title card, when you're just staring at the video on YouTube, I took that photo in Westchester where the guy has his fist up in front of a crowd of people. So that was one of the protests that I was actually at, because I like to be on the ground seeing what's actually going on, before somebody on the news tells me what's going on. So you got to have your hand in and out. What's going on on the street? What's going on the internet? And you have to be able to communicate both ways, because there's people that are on the internet playing thug and complainer, behind computer software, but they're not actually doing anything. Now, it's not to say that people behind their computer all don't do anything, but the ones that I've been running into aren't doing anything. Some people aren't on the ground people. They like to plan and direct and do things like that. So they need something to do. So they got to find it from behind the comfort of their own home. But there's other people who literally have the heart and keep talking about what they would do. You got to be on the street to actually do something about that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So the people took to the streets for protests. You started hearing, I hope it's a peaceful protest and all that, because remember, the tone was set from the past ones. There was riots and craziness going on in the past protests in certain cities. So people were kind of unfortunately setting the tone, peaceful, but everybody knows communication's a tough thing. If you guys have children at home, what happens when your children don't listen to you long enough? At least back in the day, they would get a beating. You talk to them, then you yell at them. And after you yell at them, eventually you beat them. So you move from words to physical action. Now, I'm not saying you go around fighting and beating up people. I'm just saying what communication breakdown leads to. And as we become smarter as people, as a species, if you will, our greater ability to, when we get smarter, we have a greater ability to communicate, which avoids physical action, because we learn how to compromise across situations. Well, you're looking at a situation where there was no compromise, there was no action that came along with what was being said in the past. So it formulated this kind of group again, because we've seen the marching many times. And these people here, the presidents, have not been helping, right? They haven't been helping anything. Let's go through this, right? Everybody is for black people until they're not. That's the message that we've been getting from the past presidents, right? Now, you notice I don't have Barack Obama up here. It would be unfair for me to come after Barack Obama, because at the very least, his words were good. Now, words ain't everything with politics, because for years it's been lip service and nothing's been done. But Obama had words in his favor. These presidents here, funny thing is, Bill Clinton actually had words in his favor. Trump and Biden don't have words in their favor. They're not good with words. They tend to perform more action. But the problem is with all 3 of these presidents I'm showing here, their actions spoke louder than their words, and it usually was far after the damage was actually done. Okay? So check this out, right? When Bill Clinton was in office, Hillary Clinton was out campaigning for his new crime bill. Now, everyone's familiar with this. I'm just giving us a reminder and setting a tone here, right? So I'm going to read this. This is Hillary Clinton on behalf of Bill Clinton's crime bill he's trying to put out. She says, just as in the previous generation, we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. Obviously, right? We know when we were growing up, the drug game was a real big deal. There was a war on drugs, but we know who got affected the most, right? They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kind of kids that are called super predators. Remember that? That was a big damaging line that got put out. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. In other words, we got to prosecute them, get them off the street. That's basically what's being said. Well, I hear you, TD, but this is the thing. We're not in a position of Barack Obama. It's like if I was president in a world that's clearly given power based on race and using black people. All I can really say is Obama was a figurehead. We can talk about the words he said and the things that he did, but black people don't have power over the economics and the world power situation. So for that reason, for me to slide him in there, I'm just tagging him left and right behind his back. I don't know this dude in real life. I don't know what it's like being the first black president who got to be perfect with his words and with his diction and not piss anybody off or the world turns against him. And all you need is one imperfect black person to condemn the entire race. So for that reason, yeah, I could put him on here and talk about all his policies. And, when he made that comment, when the tide rises, all boats float, which, to me, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit, because that means if the white person has $1,000 and the black man has 100, the black man moves from 100 to 1,000, but the white man moves from 1,000 to 100,000. So yeah, I can go in there and make claims. I can tell y'all about how his healthcare bill, Obama's healthcare bill, actually hurt my pockets. Like, I lost money. I don't qualify for that program, and I couldn't afford the one I was in because that program went up. So yeah, I can make my complaints. I can tell you how when Trump came in, and he put that new tax plan in. I know that tax plan is not for the little man, because if you look at the money in the long run, I learned this from a college, just so y'all know, a college economics professor who was speaking at a large seminar up at Brandeis University. And I believe it's in, where's Brandeis? I believe Brandeis is New York. No, Boston. Sorry. Waltham. It's in Waltham in Massachusetts. That's where it's at. But I learned he showed the numbers and how they break down. Like, rich people, when the tax plan, stacks over the years, the rich people wind up ahead. Everyone comes down some, but the rich people stay ahead. Depending on how low your income goes, you fall behind. But this is the thing. For me, being in business as many years as I was, making a certain amount of profit, I actually got money back on my taxes when he changed the tax bill. So it's not so much about praising the figurehead who's in office. It's because we don't have control over the system. We have to learn to align ourselves with what's going on. I hear you, George. All right, let me jump back on task. All right. So what we're saying about Hillary and Bill Clinton is, at the end of the day, the crime bill was bullshit for black people. That's it. We got hit the hardest about it, right? So now here we have Joe Biden. Now remember, he was back there pushing for the crime bill because he helped write the damn thing, right? So it says, I don't care. Now, listen to the tone being almost the same as Hillary's, even though, now they act like they so great being a part of the Democratic Party together. They like to talk trash about one another. And then when somebody dips out of the race, they want to act like they're all kumbaya. It says, I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. Hear the I don't care language. I don't care why they've become a sociopath, Biden said. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. Try to help them. See, a certainty at the beginning. See it? I don't care. That's a certainty. But at the bottom, when it comes to helping, he says what we have an obligation. So they're setting the tone to literally remove people from society. But then after that, it's not a definitive anymore. It says try to help them. Try to change their behavior. That's what we do in this bill. We have drug treatment, right? Not drug cures. We don't have any way of solving the problem. Not even stopping the cause, right? We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail. You see what I mean? I guess then when they come out, if it's drugs, it's crime or whatever it is, we already know what the rest of your life looks like, because there's no good way of getting back into society. Does it exist? Yeah. Got tons of black friends who've been putting together programs. They got book programs in the jail. They have re-entry into society programs coming out. Sometimes they're very slow, and some people can't come out and say, I used to make a lot and now I make a little. Some people can't grow after the years have been lost, right? So we're seeing the stacking here. Look at the date of this article. It says May 10th, 2019. So this is only a little over a year ago. 3 ways the 1994 crime bill continues to hurt communities of color. And I picked out one of the points, and it said it levied harsh penalties for justice involved youth. And once you hear that youth is involved, now it's a 2019 article. The youth are involved, still being affected by the crime bill. So if the youth are being involved now, what's the future look like for the youth? Sounds like a whole nother marching and destroying things scenario coming down the pipe again, doesn't it? See, so now, all right, let's swing over to Trump, right? Look at the turning. Now, I never thought Trump was good with words. So the people who are still out there like, look at what Trump said. He did this, he did that. I get it. Words have power. I get it. There's some people who are words people. When I was growing up, I listened to the beat on the music more than I listened to the words. The words caught my attention when somebody sang them or rapped them in a real cool way, and then it made it memorable. But just hearing lyrics back to back, comma this, comma that, wasn't really my thing. I just loved the beat. And beat made me feel a certain way. Okay, so that was my thing. But it was a lot of people who listened to the lyrics, which means they're words people. Trump can hurt words people. It's a lot of words people in the world. So it says here, earlier Thursday, Mr. Trump said, I feel very, very badly about George Floyd's death while handcuffed and in the custody of, it says, I feel very, very badly. And he was talking about George's death while handcuffed in the custody of Minneapolis police. That's a very shocking sight, he said. It says the president's language got more aggressive as violence boiled over in Minneapolis on Thursday night. So what they did was the article just kind of took what Trump said at one point and almost basically directly aligned it with something else, almost as if making it sound like it was in the same conversation, and it wasn't. Okay. It says here, these thugs. Now, thugs has been used in the past as a trigger word for black people because they always seem to apply that word to when we do damage, right? Even though in general, that may not be what he meant, but he comes from a culture of people who are raised a certain way. And if you ever push them in a corner, the racism comes out in terms of tone and the words they use. I know racism can be attached mainly to economic factors because that's where the power is really shown. But the fact that words are being used and turning, ordinary citizens into angry and aggressive citizens towards authority figures is because of words like these. So he goes from 1 minute feeling sorry to in another conversation later on when the riots broke out, these thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. And I won't let that happen, he tweeted. Just spoke to Governor Tom Waltz and told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. That is a very insensitive statement to make, knowing that shooting is what kills black people. Can't say when the looting starts, the shooting starts and not specify who. Now, in his original tweet, I believe there was more specifications. I think he said Antifa left-wing extremists or something like that, right? Let me see what we got in the chat here. Yeah, I agree. We can rock that reparations discussion. Some people believe we'll never get it, but yes, yeah. Still, press them. You got to ask for something and press them. Believing they won't give it to you has nothing to do with the type of power that you press onto people. Okay? Besides, we don't expect no one to give us anything anyway. You take it. All right? Yeah, just checking in on y'all. Just making sure I don't miss anything because y'all might bring up some good points that I should address. Okay? All right. So here we go. He said when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Insensitive. That's the thing that Trump is known for. But when has he ever been sensitive to people's feelings? As far as he's concerned, if he's involved in it, he's creating it. If he made it happen, it's the greatest, best thing that ever happened. And as soon as it doesn't work, there's somebody to blame. He's been like that his whole life. For every business that failed, for every time he got sued, for every financial failure that he's ever had, or positive, whatever it is, he's always been the same kind of guy. He just talks and speaks a certain way. Okay, so no, he's not a words president, right? So there you have it. That's pretty much him. I mean, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like for him, he just speaks his mind. You can take what he says and say it's racist, it's not racist, or I understand it. Doesn't really matter. Different people around the world are going to take words different ways based on their own experiences. It's a mixed bag. Okay, so at the end of the day, I would say if you're talking about presidents and policy, you need to have some financial stake in the game. You need some people power in the game. And after that, besides the politicians, you need to follow through with your own community and stop relying on other people to do the work for you. That's bottom line talk. So now we're getting into some pictures from the protests, right? Check out Fowler and 56th Street in Tampa, Florida. Here's a list, and this is a short list now, of all the places that was a part of the protest: California, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, India, Kentucky, Louisiana, New York, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, Virginia, Washington, D.C. And we know there's a whole lot more now because they even have a map online that shows it to you. Look, this is actually, the funny thing is, some of these protest joints jump around, but this was after the major disaster that took place in Philly on Sunday. They came back out again, organized, because a lot of the time you're not seeing but so much of the peaceful part of the protest, which is when people are moving in mass across the city. This is a part of the peaceful part, right? You see way more of the devastating stuff. It's juicier material, right? The news can use it, get ratings, people will watch it because we're invested in the drama, right? But guess what? Like I said earlier, they made it down to City Hall. The way this is supposed to go is when a group of people make it down to City Hall the way they did, somebody is supposed to come out and address them. Now, if somebody comes out and address them or don't, which in this case, when I remember when I was catching up with it, I saw just when they got to City Hall, it was just a row of police blocking City Hall while they just shouted and screamed. So that's akin to not listening, because somebody has to come address the crowd. And once that happens, there's going to be representatives from that crowd to say what they want. And, you know, the signs aren't necessarily the full story. You know, you got to come out and speak to someone directly. You need some kind of de facto person to come out and speak to the congressman. This is where having elders nearby help, because even though these young people are smart enough to express themselves, sometimes when it's time to really talk the legalities behind the matter, they don't always have the full body of knowledge an elder might have. So that's where the two could possibly work together. It's kind of tough, though, because a lot of elders come in with this condemning thing instead of just letting the kids have their energy. And when they need you, you step in. You kind of step in before they ever need you. So that draws a rift sometimes. But here you have talking not working, right? I tried to talk to you. I tried to peacefully march. And then after nobody listens to me, the police get a little aggressive with me. I get a little aggressive back with the police. Why? Because it ain't the first, death of a black person from a police officer. So what's going to happen? If I can't talk to you, I'm going to get a little physical. If not with you, with the stuff you own. Hence, we start burning shit down, right? This is what starts happening. Things start getting burned down. Now, once the burning down started happening, later in the day, when most people got home from work, that's when the news is now tuned up. They going home and they turn on the news and they see this first. So what's their first impression? Oh, this ain't peaceful. But then you got other people saying, well, when we tried to take a knee and do all the other stuff, nobody listened. So, I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect to happen? It's not that we agree with it. We just know what happens with the people who aren't listened to long enough. Shoot, you got a pet in your house? Keep beating your pet and corner your pet. Your pet's going to one day, it's going to just muster up the courage to bite the hell out of you. Because they don't like you can't push them in the corner but so long without them retaliating back. What was Martin Luther King's line? This is the voice of the unheard. And look, this thing had everything in it, right? This whole thing had everything in it. Oh, you said, what's his name? Marvin. Yeah. What's going on? Caught you trolling. What's going on? Name's Marvin. I got my info scrolling at the bottom, guys, just so you know. So those are all the channels that I'm on. I mainly speak about health-related topics, but this is psychology, so it's kind of something that it makes sense for me to kind of give a point of view on because it's important to our people at the end of the day. And for those who support the cause with me and George, we're really rocking with the whole Urban Nerds thing to help bring our STEM and science and technology side for the urban people, bring it up to the point where we have, some STEM power, science, technology, engineering, and math, right? So there's the Cash App. If you guys want to donate, that's mine scrolling down there on the bottom of the screen. Okay, so all right, so back to it. This is an article after the first night of all the protesting. Actually, I believe this article might have came out, May 30th, right? Black protesters who want to demonstrate peacefully are calling out white people who instigate violence. So what was happening is, remember I told you got to look at the war tactics, right? So with the war tactics going on, if I'm planning deceit, here's what we started noticing. So remember I said communication, right? They come out peacefully, they march, they get to a certain point, they want to talk. But then you might have some dissenters around. The people waiting for it to jump off, or they planning that it's going to jump off, so they waiting to make it happen. So you get these police officers, and there's always the good and always the bad. They're mixed in with each other. So some of the police officers was doing stuff like driving around, spraying pepper spray in the air, just hitting people who had nothing to do with anything, tear gas in certain people. But when the police started shoving back, against the people who were trying to be heard. Eventually, the people started retaliating back by burning and tearing stuff up. And guess what happened then? All of the undercover agents and stuff start coming out and presenting situations to the crowd to escalate it. So remember I mentioned Swordfish earlier? I said what he said on the movie Swordfish, John Travolta. They bomb a church, we bomb the town. My job is to make terrorism so unthinkable that the average citizen wouldn't dare think to do it. Because remember, if you say, I hate this guy, I'm going to punch him in the face, and then you punch him in the face and he blows up and takes out an entire city block. In your mind, it's like, yo, I didn't expect that to happen. That makes me never want to do that again. That's a tactic. So these movies kind of point out ideals that go through people's heads. And not to say that those ideals happen in real life. They might. But you got to understand that power seeks to do these things to maintain control over a population. And it can be secretive because we live in a world of secretive government. So we saw stuff in videos like, for instance, somehow in the protest locations, there were construction sites, really small ones, which just happens to have large amounts of bricks nearby. So when the crowd gets a little mad, somebody runs over, starts tearing open the bricks, and basically it reveals the way they do it. They tear the barrier up so hard that it draws the attention of people nearby. And guess what? Somebody in the crowd gonna be like, yo, they got bricks back here. They got gasoline back here. It's guns in this cop car. People, all of a sudden, the creators cause the people who are mad to amplify the creation, because the people who are getting pushback, you're out there shouting. The police start pushing at you. You start pushing back. If you find anything that'll give you a leg up in the battle, some people are going to say, yeah, give me that. But there's other people in the crowd saying, well, I don't think we should do that. So you had protesters who saw this new stuff coming up, bricks and all kinds of stuff. And they say, I'm down with that. I'm going to tear something up since they ain't listening. And you got other people stopping them saying, don't do that. It's going to make it worse. So it's a mixed bag. Now, the people who bout that smoke, they ready to go throw stuff, fight the police and all that. The agents on the side are still creating more situations. They smashing buildings open and stuff. And what's going to happen next? Poor people who see the buildings being smashed open, they going to want parts. That's their come up time. Oh shit, they broke that joint open. It's clothes and TVs and jewelry and all that. They going to be opportunists. And word get around for opportunists real fast. So you in this situation, like I said, you have a whole bag of stuff going on. Philly, because that's what I got to talk about. Look, I got some quotes. I was screenshotting some of the racists, right? There's some woman named Marie Lefevre, or whatever you call it, right? I'm watching CBS Philly to watch the whole thing, and I'm looking at the chat. Look what she says. Guess it's time to bring out the hose, right? And she might say, oh, no, hoses is how you control a crowd. Yeah, but again, words have power. Black people ain't stupid. We remember a history where dogs and hoses and all kinds of crap came out. So you can't make that statement. That's going to immediately come off as racist. And in her mind, she probably watching the news focus on mostly black people doing stuff, trying to avoid the white people doing it. They're trying to even the crowd whenever whites are involved. The media want to kind of even the message out by filming select things, right? Instead of just filming it as a whole. That's why watching some of these helicopters actually helps, because you can kind of get a statistical range of what the crowd really looks like. Who's white, who's black, who's whatever, right? Who's the police officers? You can see it all at once. So social media has an advantage there. Look, we knew it was coming. We knew the racist was going to come out of the background, right? So look, what we got? We got Tanya over here. What'd she say? Yes, pop a cap in a few and they will stop. So shooting a black man and killing him, or just shooting him in general, caused the problem. Now she's going to make an insensitive comment, pop a cap in him, right? You see what I mean? This is how it happens. What we got over here? See, the Jamie Tapia, she didn't put no, I wasn't like doing a full chase down, but you guys got it here if you want to do a full chase down. But check it out. Bring out the water cannons, pepper spray, and attack dogs, please. Why? Because to her, this is her America. We want to stop this. Go on out there and get them. Shoot the mother. You might want to say that. Remember the movie with Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name, and Samuel L. Said waste the motherfuckers. It's akin to something like that. See, when people are on edge, any little words you say, it's amplified in their head. And these kinds of people is the racists that we was talking about. But this is my thing. You can create laws and punishments for racists, but you already see that the country is moving towards no room for racists. But they've already established this whole reverse racism thing. So don't be surprised if in the future, all of a sudden, black people get caught up in the racism laws that get created. Yeah, he was acting like a reverse racist. Like, nigga, we don't have the power and ownership of anything to be racist against you. We don't own most of the businesses and stuff like that. We can't stop you from having economic American prosperity. We ain't got that kind of power. Now, if you get a case where it's like a black person owns a business and it's like, I tried to get hired, I was clearly the best person to be hired, and they didn't hire me over this person who can't do this, that, and the third, you may have a little bit of a case, because that's a case where you have the power for someone to thrive in your hands. But in most cases, that's not what the deal is. In most cases, it's like y'all own distribution, y'all own land. You know, I'm talking white people, right? You own land, you own resources, you own most of the authority figures. We got a small piece in that. We got a small stake in the population on these things. So we don't have the proper worldwide power to tell somebody really to kiss my ass. That was what we were trying to do. We were trying to have our own economic base. Like, what do we have that no one else has so we can trade with y'all? So then everybody has a little something, and you ain't really got to worry about racism because we all need a little bit of what each other got. But what black people had was taken. You know, they had that whole meeting, I think, in the 1700s where they sat down and or is it 18 something? I can't remember, but some of y'all might know what it is. But they had that little council where they decided who was going to take what part of Africa, but nobody African was in the meeting because they were too busy colonizing it. See, they on that bullshit, right? Let's move to the next one. So, for the sake of this presentation, this is the final slide, and I'm going to show you guys an article. But this is where we at now. All that looting, because people were saying like, oh, this looting ain't going to solve nothing. It ain't going to stop nothing. It should be peaceful and all that. Look, regardless of whether it was peaceful, all we know is vandalism happened when people got mad. Because all you were hearing in the beginning was protests and looting. I kept saying, why is nobody saying the word vandalism? Vandalism needs to be in the middle because that's before looting. You see what I mean? You ain't listening to me. Peaceful, right? I'm talking, I'm marching. You ain't listening to me. So now I got to slap something. I got to get your attention. I got to make some noise. I got to burn something, slap something, tear something up, brick something, break something. I could see some of the protesters getting into that. That's possible. We ain't going to argue that it was just dissenters causing the problems. We know protesters will get mad because it's like, yo, we've protested many times. We coming out here, and if they ain't listening, we burning shit down. We young. We are not the old heads talking about there's a smarter way, a better way. You could have did this, you could have did that. Man, y'all old heads wasn't there for us when we was younger. So we grew up under our own culture and our own feelings. And right now, nobody's listening to us. So now that we out here taking the streets and going in, I don't want to hear from you. I'm in my bag now. You should have came to me before I got in my bag. So with all that being said, you got some old heads out there complaining because in Philly, people was like, where I'm going to get my groceries, where I'm going to get my medicine. And I'm like, all you got to do is drive a little further up. They probably got to drive another 10 minutes and you can find a place open to get it. But then, of course, it became, well, I don't have no car. I ain't got nobody who can drive me. Well, what that mean? That mean you need to get your ass outside and start connecting with some neighbors and stuff and finding a solution. See, this is the pressure that anarchy puts on people. You don't like, some people sat at home and don't like the results. They wanted things to be a certain way. They want things to go back to normal. Them kids don't give a shit in the moment. The ones who looted was trying to come up. They probably got jobs that wasn't paying much, wasn't a lot of opportunity because of the overcrowding of the job situation. Pay wasn't going up to go along with the economy. I hate my job. I hate my home life. And even though I hate my job, it's going to take me 3 months to get the pair of shoes I want. And you trying to tell me somebody smashed a window and I can go in there and grab 3 pairs of them shoes, wear one and come up off the other 2, even though it's not the smartest thing for them to do because they're going to get caught on camera, all kinds of stuff. In their mind, life was shit anyway. I ain't had nothing. So to them, it's worth the risk. You see what I mean? This is what we dealing with. It's a holistic situation. It's not one-sided. I'm in the market, right? I'm helping clean up one of the locations in Philadelphia the next day after it happened. I'm talking to some friends online. I'm like, yo, let's go out and, we all a part of this. The kids are the way they are for whatever reason, as a group of people, black, white, whatever, who hated each other. We put in a president. We became divided as a people. So the people we elected in the office were divided. And those divided people started saying divisionary things. And then we started to get mad at them and started to fight with one another. And eventually the kids got neglected because there was a rift between what the kids were seeing and what the parents and stuff were doing. The drug game kind of exacerbated that. So now the kids don't have the parents and the teaching and the training because of all the laws and the parenting and stuff going on in society and on TV they see. So they like, yo, we not getting what everybody else is getting. So at the end of the day, when I was in that market, right, helping to clean up, I told somebody I wanted to clean up that morning. And people was like, I was like, yeah, are you going, I was asking somebody, are you going to go and help do it? Well, It's not my neighborhood. We gotta, let's see if we can organize. And I'm like, organize? I was like, the fuck? I was like, yo, when I go run ball, we don't organize a damn thing. We ask somebody as they try and get dunked on, crossed over, whatever, in that moment. This is a case where they tore stuff up and shit is on the ground. So get off your ass, grab a broom, clean it up, because at the end of the day, as smart as we think we are a society. What the few of us do, the rest of us get the shit for. So when the kids went nuts, us being the enlightened and correcting ones, we got to go out there and clean that shit up. And if they do it again, clean it up again. And if they do it again, clean it up again. Until you learn how to communicate, to get the buy-in from them so you can all work together and solve the community problems. What else you going to do? And then some people were saying, when I was in the market cleaning up, right, I heard this one woman saying, she was like, oh, God going to get them. They're going to all go to jail for the looting. So it's the way she sounds to me is she just thinks the whole thing was about looting. She wasn't paying it. I guess she wasn't paying attention to just there was a protest. Then there was vandalism, and then some looters and opportunists came out after that. She wasn't separating the two. But she was worried about herself, like, how I'm going to go now? I can't shop, get my food, go to the market, my medication and all that. What we going to do if this person and that person decide to pack their store up and move out of the neighborhood? And it made me mad. And I spoke up and I was like, you get your ass out there and buy the land, build it back up, and supply your own people the things that they need for your community. All that, I know people want to have that black people ain't ready, we ain't giving I don't care. That anarchy that happened over these past few days pushes you into the direction of figuring it out. No more sitting on your ass behind the computer being a computer gangster. No more sitting behind your door or sitting on your porch looking at the young people do bad stuff saying, I hope the cops catch them, motherfuckers. And, you making all these excuses and stuff. Ain't no more of that. There's no room for the excuses. It's only room for action now. If all the stores in your location shut down because they looted and vandalized it, you need to start getting together with some people and figuring out how you're going to supply your neighborhood, or you going to move out. And guess what? That's free land. And I don't want to hear shit about redlining at that point. You see what I mean? You're going to cause your own problems by sitting on your ass too long. This is what I'm trying to say. So what happened? What's the aftermath currently? Well, Mr. Chauvin here, Derek, got his charges moved up to second degree murder, which for first degree, too much. Not going to be able to prove that. I always thought that second degree would fit. At a time, people were like, nah, third degree fits because nobody could prove intent. I get it. But second degree seemed to fit the bill. It was just, and now all this new information is coming out that there might be a connection between him and George and all this other extra stuff that we have yet to see what's going on. But we know the trial got to happen. We know that if the New World Order conspiracy holds any weight, then expect a non-guilty verdict or something like a slap on the wrist, like, account of disturbing the peace, something stupid like that, right? Where he'll get something like 3 months and 1 year of probation. You'll hear some stupid stuff, kind of a slap on the wrist kind of thing, because we know the system was built to really protect officers more than citizens, which if they were doing their job right, kind of makes sense, right? Because once they go to jail, it's all hands on deck. You get caught in them walls, right? So let me move over to, I have an article I'm going to move over to. So give me 1 second, guys, while I prep him up for y'all so we can read some stuff about this. And you're going to see this exact same picture pop up. So there's a connection there, right? So here we have, right? Derek Chauvin charged with second degree murder in George Floyd's killing. 3 other ex-cops involved charged with assisting him. So we know that the protesting and the pressure pulled off some type of, change in the status quo. So we got the other officers charged in there. We know they've been fired, but I learned that they could be hired again within 30 days and they could change departments and all that and still get their money. I heard all these different things, right? But let's read some of this article here. All right, I'm gonna blow it up. Hopefully you guys can see it, pretty large on the screen. All right. It says all 4 Minneapolis police officers involved in the killing of George Floyd on May 25th now face criminal charges, 3 of them for the first time. Derek Chauvin, the arrested officer, pressed his knee to Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and told him to relax as the 46-year-old black man repeated, "Please, I can't breathe." Chauvin was arrested on Friday on third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter charges. On Wednesday, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison charged Chauvin with second-degree murder as well. The Star Tribune first reported the charges. The three other officers, Tao Thao, J. Alexander Quing, and Thomas Lane, has so far only lost their jobs. They were also charged on Wednesday with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. They were booked into the Hennepin County Jail later that evening, right? Bail has been set at $1 million for the former officers. The WCCO TV reporter Jason DeRusha said, citing court records. So you have this information right here. You guys want to check out this article. I'm going to copy it, and hopefully I remember to paste it in where you guys can see it. So here's the court filings so you guys can see them. They're in the middle of the article. It says, at a news conference on Wednesday afternoon, Ellison promised to hold everyone accountable for the behavior that we can prove in a court, adding, "If I don't charge it, it means that we did not have the facts to do that," because we know that's how the system works. You know, it is what it is. The United States has historically under-prosecuted these matters and not held public guardians accountable for their behaviors in situations where we should have, eroding the public trust, Ellison said. But we can't control the past, he added. All we can do is take the case that we have in front of us right now and do our good faith best and bring justice to the situation, and we will. All right. And there's more here. Like I said, I'll copy it to put it in there. I don't want to go too far beyond the point. But this is the thing. When it really rings a bell for me when I hear somebody say we can't change the past, because this is why I brought up the presidents in the beginning and the whole political thing. The issue that I personally have with the political thing is somebody can give you, when you're not really, doing this political thing the way you're supposed to, which is why when I grew up, I got mad at the voting thing, because everyone just kept waiting till the last minute and saying rock the vote because voting changes things. And I was a believer like voting could change things, but you guys never groomed a candidate. I never heard your demands. I hear the candidates making up what the answers are going to be for you. Like, you don't, as a people, aren't informed enough to make your own demands. You don't fund anything, and you don't do it as a group at that. So it's just a scattered vote. So to me, you're sending a message that a bunch of people voting into a void is going to work. Then when the results come out, you get mad that nobody voted the way you did, or they didn't vote at all because they were too confused. It doesn't make any sense. You can't go around telling everybody we need to get the vote. I think Malcolm X was the one who said, you can't expect to get change with the people being asleep. You have to wake the people up first. Then you can go for change. So unawakened people are just saying sound bites. It's kind of like when Dr. Sebi said the mucus is the problem. The mucus causes all, the mucus, it's the mucus. But until then later on, when you educate people and tell them you have a mucus membrane that helps seal the inside of your body from trouble. And when that mucus gets caught up on the dirt, it allows, that's why when you spit, or you have the flu and stuff, the mucus turns a color. It's clear when it's not being used yet. We call it like a type of plasma. But when some dirt and some rubbish and stuff gets in your body, some bad vaccines, all that trash that gets in your body, when you see it come out of you turn the color, it's because the mucus binded up the problem and you spit it out. So he summarized it by saying mucus. So I'm saying all that to say that not having the defining information behind why a thing works and you just take it at face value gives it really not much power. So now if you can accidentally do it. Let's say Joe Biden is the answer to the world's problems and everybody just blindly votes Democrat and says we just need Trump out. It is what it is, right? But that doesn't escape the fact that right now, me personally in my position, Trump tells me what I need to know about him. He's terrible with words, but he always says exactly what he's going to do. A lot of the Democrats of the past, they had a way of giving you lip service. They're very vague, and then eventually they give you what they said they were going to give you, but they never told you about the underlying factors which eventually hurt you. See, that's what, to me growing up, that's what separated the two from me. So you vote this person in, and you think the beauty of it is 2, 3, 4 years later, I can vote him out. That's wasting time. That's somebody saying yo, you want to make a quick career for yourself? People don't know you. We're going to groom you up, throw you in the office. All you got to do is follow our plans, right? They're going to pay you $400,000 a year, be president. You're going to have to deal with the turmoil and death, but you're going to have consultants helping you make your decisions. So we're going to take care of you. You're going to be all right. So what I got to do? Just say these things to the public. Oh, all right, what about the campaign? How we get money? Don't worry, that's taken care of. Coming in from Goldman Sachs and all kinds of crazy people. You know, they paying us to get these things for them. But when we talk to the public, we're going to say that. Then that person gets in office. You don't know them. You think they're there to change. And for 4 years, they implement all these plans. They get the media to make it sound good to you. Either later in their career or years after, all of a sudden you've been had. And you know, let's say it happens during their actual tenure. The problem happens, right? They vote, you know, you vote them in, they do something bad right away. Well, you know what? In 4 years, we need to vote them out. 3 to 4 years, that's a lot of life. That's a lot of life to live with a problem right in front of your face. Well, what do you want? These things take time to change. And I was like, and that's the strategy they're using against you. Things take time to change. They give you lip service. They gain time because of the lip service. And then when you finally catch them, you say, let me vote them out. Meanwhile, they counting the cash and rolling out. See, that's the issue that I have with politics. And that's why I say the power is in the people. It works on a pyramid structure. The people are at the bottom holding the person up top. So when we see, you know, unless it's some foreign things that we got to learn from military friends and Homeland Security and all the, you know, government officials, if it's home, if it has to do with me paying taxes, building my land, being on my land, owning weapons and all those different constitutional things, I'm supposed to be educated to know what they are. And I'm supposed to be the ones making demands to my officials on which way to move the country so that I stay all right in terms of economics and livability and freedoms. But if they're dictating it to us, if they're saying what the problem is, making you fearful of it, and then offering you the suggestion, that's control at its finest. We call it Hegelian dialectic. Okay? So, I want to thank you guys for coming out, checking the whole presentation out. Like I said, you guys are going to get to see some cool shit coming down the pipe with George because he was on the ground like I was. So there's official video of seeing things happen. There's official aftermath video, interviews, and all kinds of stuff coming. So keep an eye out for one of the next, it may not be the next stream because sometimes, you know, George will stream on the ground when something's going on, but keep an eye out within the next day or two for a stream that's going to show you guys visuals of what's going on. And George is going to bring that to you guys. So the information that I have on the stream scrolling at the bottom, again, is all my channels. If you guys like Instagram, I love Instagram. I'm a visual person, so you can catch me on Instagram at Marvin Health and Arts. If you want to see the photography side, you got to go to Marvin Burwell Photography. But I bring my stuff to you guys under Marvin Health and Arts. It's a lot of health stuff and a lot of artistic stuff if you look at my channels. On Facebook, same thing, Marvin Health and Arts. On YouTube here, if you're listening to this video and you have not followed me yet on YouTube, make sure you go subscribe to my channel, Marvin Health and Arts. It's right there on the screen, okay? My Cash App information is there too if you want to dump the brother something so that I can keep bringing you this kind of content and make it more flashy and look good and then bring you guys some actual information later on through what me and George are developing to help you guys start to create some stuff. Hook us up. We're going to keep hooking you up and bringing stuff to you. So with that being said, peace to the chat. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for coming out and hanging with me. I will catch you guys on the next stream. Salute to all.